Yes. Academy. We play Academy on Thursday.
Not Jackson's turn.
Yes, I have a cord. Plug it in here. That works. Yeah, it was right to plug it in here.
I have my cord.
I appreciate everybody's patience.
Yeah, just let me know.
Against we just play.
There we go.
Yeah, 18. We got within like 1 or 2. Yeah. He was scooped in that second half. I was proud of him. That's awesome.
Okay. Okay, so in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22, I hereby call the December 7th, 2021 Bexley Board of Education meeting, regular meeting to order. Mr. Smith, would you please vote? I'll give it back.
One last time.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Smith, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Barton.
Here.
Ms. Minio.
Here.
Ms. Mitchell.
Here.
Ms. Powers.
Here.
Ms. Snowden.
Here. Thank you. So in accordance with our policy around public comment, Mr. Smith, would you please collect the sheet? Thank you. All right, now it's time for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for our regular meeting of November?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, that motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve our agenda? So moved. Give a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries as well. Thank you. All right, so we are starting with our board updates. I was just saying to Victoria, I think I might have actually left my notes, but I have some of them. So, coming in on a wing and a prayer. The first thing I want to acknowledge is our policies tonight. I really appreciate everybody's time and energy in going through all these policies, getting them all squared away, especially Carla and Dr. Fine. It has been a yeoman's task, and our administrators who've helped us with each of them. I really appreciate that. I also just want to give special note to our equity policy. I could not be more pleased to approve that tonight, to give it my vote. And I want to thank Ms. Mitchell and Ms. Powers for their tireless work, Mr. Braxton, and all of our leaders in our administration. I feel like there is no way to feel like you have, I don't feel that there's any way I will ever be able to solve some of our larger systemic issues, but I feel good that this is an important first or second step to doing that, and I'm very thankful to this board for considering it tonight. I also want to say thank you to everyone for the nice reception. It meant a lot to me, and I appreciate it. And I would say you've heard a lot from me over the last 12 years. So I'm going to try and keep it brief, but those of you who know me know that I'm often kind of happy to be given a microphone. So since I have it for one last board meeting, I'm going to take it. Just say I've been truly honored and very humbled to serve on this board. It hasn't always been a comfortable journey to try and balance the competing priorities of highly engaged and expectant community, but it has been a rewarding one. This is mainly true because I find it really interesting to try to solve pressing issues with research, thoughtfulness, hard work, and collaboration. And I found so many individuals here in the Bexley City Schools who share that passion with me. I've talked a lot over the years, especially the last two in this pandemic, about teamwork being the key to success in the school district. I'm thankful for the examples and lessons from my previous board colleagues and administration members, and I'm exceedingly thankful to those who have worked with me these last 2 years as I've served as president. I could not have had a better governance team than Michelle, John, Alicia, Victoria, Kyle, and Jason. I'm so thankful. As I shared with our staff at Convocation this year, I've also learned a few things in particular in our little crucible these last 21 months. And one of those is what I want to mention here. To borrow a phrase from Oprah, this is one thing that I know for sure. How we treat each other, peers, students, parents, people of different backgrounds and beliefs, matters. Every day, every encounter, it matters. Our response to others, especially in crisis, is the foundation of our community and the mirror to our own souls. We all need to fight for what we think is right, but how we fight makes all the difference. How we choose to respond to fear, frustration, anger, hopes, dreams, desires, that matters. We must act together in positions of public trust to, as Dr. Amy Acton puts it, leave space for grace. I am so thankful that I'm leaving this position in the very capable hands of people who have signed up to be part of the solution. I implore our community to extend grace, patience, and kindness to them. Engaging in this way will move the important work of educating our students forward and model these essential practices for our children. And that is my report tonight. Ms. Powers.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking Carla for that really lovely reception and all the work that she put into it. It was really a really lovely way for us to honor the folks that are leaving tonight. So I'm grateful for that. I also want to thank Kyle for including my few clarifying changes to the minutes because I didn't get those to you very quickly, and I apologize for that. I think everybody here was probably at our event, so I'm not going to repeat my comments, but I am very, very honored to have been able to serve on this board with these three people who are having their last board meeting tonight with us. I've learned so much from them, and I admire their service, their commitment, and their caring for our students, our teachers, our administrators. I hope we, our new board, can continue the work in the respectful, hardworking, and impressive way that we've learned to do from the folks that are departing tonight. So I just want to again thank each and every one of you three for the service. Franklin County School Board Alliance. This group met on November 11th. The discussion focused on the Ohio School Board Association annual meeting, issues at the National School Board Association level. We all talked about the election results in our districts. We talked about busing issues that are becoming a problem for many districts. And there was discussion of levy and facilities issues in various districts. The next meeting of that group is this week. I continue to really appreciate the opportunity to participate in the Alliance. Bexley Rec, at the Bexley Rec board meeting in December, we heard reports on the Jeffrey Mansion Preschool, Jeffrey Summer Camp Program, and the Before and After Care Program. Bexley Rec folks gave a lot of love to Bexley City Schools administrators, teachers, and staff. And I want to read what was included in the year-end report that was published to us and to everybody. And so I'm going to read just this one paragraph. Throughout this pandemic, the schools have gone above and beyond to help make the success of this program possible. Harley Williams, Jill Abraham, and John Eikenberry, to name a few, made sure that we were part of all communications and updates on information so we could help support our community. They also helped with providing jobs for our staff when the schools pivoted from one type of learning to another. The schools also did a huge part in making sure we always had the busing and space in the schools that was needed. They were all easy to work with, and the connection we made during this experience really thrived. The principals of all three schools were, of course, super supportive, like they always are, and were always easy to reach, even outside of the school hours and days. The teachers and all supportive education staff really connected with our staff at the Bexley Rec on a whole other level as we sat with kids in their Zoom classes or communicated to them about students' class and work. It was a crazy year, but a very magical one as well. So I wanted to share that because the appreciation was much appreciated by me, and I did, on behalf of the district, express our gratitude for the work that those programs that are sponsored and run by Bexley Rec do, because they, without the shifts that they did all the time in childcare, we would have had a much harder time managing through our school changes in the year that they were reporting on. So was able to pass that along. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Mr. Arnold.
We haven't met with the rec board or the technology board, but I want to thank Brad and Harley and Eli for all of their work that they put into those. I hope I'm not going to bore anybody with this. Usually I'm a litigator, usually just a bullet points to go through, but I kind of wanted to make a record of my appreciation for everybody. But going off of what Marley said, just a little bit of advice that I could give is always the grace and the respect that you can give one another always makes a huge difference. Even if you vehemently disagree, it makes a huge difference. So I have a little bit of a longer statement than Marley does, but there are so many people over the last 8 years. I just wanted to make sure that I worked on this to make sure that I try not to miss anybody. So there's just so many thank yous to go around. So I'll just start by thanking the Bexley community for electing me to 2 terms on the board. And in some ways, the last 8 years have gone by so fast, but in other ways, not so much. I'm so grateful and humbled by having the privilege of serving our community, our parents, our administrators, our staff, and our parents, but most of all, our students, for which were mine that have come through the school district. I always try to make decisions that were student-centered and what I believe was best for each of our students. But before I thank some people, I want to congratulate Ms. Jade and Ms. Pickerel and Mr. Baker. And sitting on this side as a board member, I want to thank you in advance for your time and your effort and sacrifice that you will be providing to our community. At least from my personal perspective, it won't go unnoticed. It's not just the meetings, but all the work behind the scenes, whether it's reviewing policies or preparing for meetings, attending committees, going over finances, I hope I can fully appreciate what the three of you are going to be providing to our district. I wish you all good luck, some thick skin, and some wisdom and fortitude that you can keep our district moving forward. Also, to the many friends and people that I didn't really know, and colleagues and people outside of this room that supported me over the years, I want to thank you all individually, but it goes without saying that the encouragement, the texts, the emails, the phone calls are so much more appreciated than I can express. So for the thank yous, I've got a lot of thank yous, and I apologize to bore people, but I think it's important, at least for me, to thank people. First, I want to thank Dr. Johnson, food superintendent that was on the board when I first started, Dr. Kim Miller, Dr. Good, and Dr. Fine. All four superintendents provided me with some insight and knowledge of what it takes to work as a team. And I wanted to shout out Dr. Miller because I was president when she was superintendent, and we had some really great conversations in my 2 years as president, and I hope that we're not only productive, but help keep our district going in the right path. And she taught me how we can make and should make decisions keeping students first. Secondly, for all the former board members, some that were here this evening, through thick and thin, I know you have your hearts in the right place and you're giving your time and your effort. I know she couldn't be here, but Melissa Lacroix, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned her. I greatly admire her preparation, her dedication, her wisdom were immeasurable for me, and I can't thank her enough, especially when I became president, the insight that she gave me. Also, Chris Essman, I know he was here earlier. He was our treasurer before Kyle, I think for 30 some years.
Yeah.
His wisdom and insight and always being available, and no pun intended, but he was a true treasure to our district and always made my job as a board member easier. That's a little dad joke, I guess. But I also want to thank Kyle. One of the best decisions I think I made as part of being this board is hiring Kyle, and he really is a rock star. Especially as my time as president, Kyle was always there to give a perspective that was invaluable. Not only was he an exemplary colleague on our governance team, but he is a good friend. Anytime we had a meeting or executive session, negotiations, retreats, one of the things I could always count on Kyle was to join me in making sure all the desserts were tasting just right and were sampled and make sure that they were okay. But seriously, Kyle, I appreciate all you do and thank you for everything you do for the district and that you've done personally for me. I want to thank our administrators, some that are here, and our principals and our teachers for helping guide the district over the years. We are so fortunate to have so many gifted people here. I also want to thank our maintenance and custodial staff. When I would lead board meetings sometimes at midnight and they were here working and making sure our building was in immaculate condition, it's amazing that they keep our district schools in great shape. I wanted to thank Brad Pettit. He's also a rock star, and he gets it. Brad gets it. He always is thinking what can make our students' experience better. And that's not only from a technology standpoint, but as learners. Brad has always been extremely gracious with me and patient, but I always knew his knowledge and his insight and his foresight was a huge asset to the district and also to me, so thank you, Brad. I also want to thank Harley. I've known Harley since our girls were in kindergarten, I think, so almost 20 years. He's a friend first and foremost, and I always put that first. Harley has been a middle school principal, high school principal, and now an administrator, and just an unbelievable great asset to our community. I could always count on Harley to be a friend first and always even keel no matter what, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me and especially, again, our friendship. So thank you for everything you've done. I want to thank Jason, Dr. Fine. In the short time, perfect timing. Just over the short time I've gotten to know you, I consider you a friend as well. Clearly an enthusiastic leader, and I know that he's going to bring great things to our district. But what I really notice is that how much you care deeply for a community that you've just recently joined and that you're just coming into. It's not hard to notice when you're talking to somebody you are engaged and you're just not talking at them as, hey, I'm the superintendent, but you're listening, engaging with them. and what a valuable asset to have you as a leader. And again, I'm thankful that I was part of that decision to help bring you here. I know you're bound for greatness, and I look forward to watching it happen. I look forward to staying in touch and staying friends with you. I want to thank my current colleagues. First of all, we'll always have the bond of COVID. Good, bad, or indifferent, but no one can really know what the five of us went through. And that can never be taken away from us. It's in a weird way a bond that we have, that we had to navigate through unprecedented time. Not only will you all always be my colleagues, but I consider you all friends. Now, individually, Michelle, I didn't know Michelle before she ran, but what an unbelievable, fantastic addition you've been to the board. Your perspective on so many issues has opened my eyes to look at things differently. Your kindness, your graciousness is clearly evident, and you have served this community so well. Even though you served one term, as we joked about earlier, just the last 2 years can equal 20 years of service. So, but with all of that, your positive attitude never changed, and I can't tell you how much that I appreciate that. Victoria, wow, you got elected to the board, and 2 months later, COVID. I'm not going to focus on that baptism by fire in your first 2 years, other than to say how amazingly professional you have been. And as a leader, even as a newbie on the board, and how you stepped up to be a leader. Your wisdom and intelligence are unmatched, but mostly your dedication is unmatched. And I look forward to seeing the great work ahead for you over the next few years at least. I always know that you'll be prepared and undaunted, and again, always being somebody that gives everything that they have and has that wisdom and leadership. So thank you. Marley, it's been a long and short 8 years, 12 years for you. I think what you said about Phoebe being in kindergarten when you started kind of hit home, but she's always been amazing. Marley is considerate of others always, puts her heart and soul into being a great school board member. The work that goes into being president, that you've done twice, and through COVID, to put you in the Board of Education Hall of Fame.
Easily.
Mostly though, you've been a trusted colleague, somebody that I could bounce ideas off when I was president or whenever I needed that, and you've been a wonderful friend to me, even when we disagreed. And I admire your dedication and your service on the board, and I couldn't be happier for you in 25 days. And Alicia, there's so much I could say about Alicia. From the time we appointed her to the board until today, she's never let me down. Both as a colleague and a great friend. She's been unbelievably caring and cares deeply for our district and our students. And she's not afraid to do what she thinks is right no matter what, especially when she believes what is right for our students. But all of that aside, and by far most importantly to me, Alicia has become one of my best friends on the planet. No words can do justice about how much I appreciate you. And I'll miss being on the board with you, but I look forward to being your civilian friend. And there's nothing I would trade for the friendship I have with you. And again, there's so much I could say, but you are amazing as a board member, as a mom, and as a great friend. And I appreciate the patience with everybody. I know that was a lot of stuff, but over the last 8 years, I've been so blessed. Again, I'm humbled and grateful to been able to serve this community of Bexley. I hope I was able to give something back of what my family has gained for being here since we moved here in 1998. And lastly, most importantly, I want to thank my family, Carla, Kaylee, Bethany, Ashley, and Riley. I couldn't have lasted 8 years without you. The long nights at meetings, the time away from you, and everything in between, you have all been so supportive of me over the last 8 years. Being a board member can take a toll on your family and family life, but you have all been so understanding of me and of me wanting to serve our community that's given so much to all of us. Talk about being blessed. I've been blessed beyond anything that I deserve. Your love, understanding, and support that I felt from you is remarkable. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for loving me through these last 8 years. And again, I appreciate all the patience. I want to again make that all part of the record. Thank you all, and everything I said is genuine, and I can't thank everybody enough. And I have been so blessed and humbled and honored. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Mitchell, go ahead and follow that one up.
I don't believe that I should. Let me just get through my report really quickly. BEF, I just like to shout out and give recognition that the BEF has awarded over $32,000, almost $33,000 in grants this year alone. They're doing great work in our schools and for our students. Some of those grants were particularly centered around mental health and wellness. And as we as a district continue to prioritize those initiatives, just having an unbelievable partner like that has been really, really helpful. And then as you all may be wrapping up your holiday shopping season on Amazon, if you do the Amazon Smile, the BEF gets the beneficiary of some of those dollars that you spend. And it's really easy when you're logging in, your regular Amazon login, just do Amazon Smile and it'll pull it up and switch over. Everything's all in there, your profile, and shop away. So keep donating, that's always good. I don't have anything to report on facilities. I believe we'll be probably kicking that back off after the first of the year. So that'll be great news. Obviously, our administrators have been hard at work working on some additional efforts for practice space and what have you. So that'll probably be wrapped up into all of our discussions on facilities. And then for our equity and education policy, I'll have more comments when we get to that policy so that we don't heavy it down here. But really, really proud and excited to put that policy to vote. There are some former board members here, even members of the community that have been part of that journey of that work. And so that's really, really wonderful to have them here tonight too. If you stay that long, no pressure. But certainly have an opportunity for them to also see that policy adopted tonight. So the only other thing that I will say is you all know that I'm the emotional one in the bunch, so I respect you immensely. Will miss you tremendously. You have provided a great example to future boards and an example to me always. I have appreciated your counsel, your friendship, your wisdom, and your patience. And I hope that in the 5 years that we've, has it been 5? Yeah, 5 years that we have known each other and that we've served together, that I've had an opportunity to be part of history in the making. I will miss all of you, but thank you so much for everything that you did to make the lives of all Bexley students better, but thank you for the impact that you have on my families as well. They always ask after you, the kids do. They're as interested and invested in your families and your family successes. So enjoy your retirement from this part of the world. And I certainly hope that we'll continue to make you proud.
All right. I think that is
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Michelle. I skipped you. You skipped me. Right on. I'm sorry, Brent.
Okay. So, for my board report, as far as the legislative liaison goes, I have nothing to report. Usually I get an email update if it hasn't come yet. So I will update you guys with that when it's available. Okay, so that's that. So I'm going to be fairly brief, or at least I think I am. But I do have some things I want to say. Ms. Johnson, I'd like that we put it on the record. So the overriding, I think, thing I want to say is just there's so much gratitude I have. I'm grateful to be sitting here tonight, and you can take that really any way you choose. But I am grateful to be sitting here tonight, and I am grateful for the opportunity you have sat here for the last 4 years. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve the community and the trust that you have put into me. The thank yous start with the community and the parents, and of course our students. But to the staff and educators, I said this in our last little meeting, but I'll say it again. Especially the educators, I've long admired the work that you guys do, and I am just so honored to have been a part of the team. And really, that's where, you know, the experiences that my sons had with the educators really like propelled me to like want to serve in a different capacity on the team. So I am grateful to the staff and educators, to the administrators. You're all, most of you are here tonight. I can't thank you enough for the work that you have done. You have like made a very challenging time. You have served in a very challenging time and helped our students to thrive. And I, as a parent and as a board member, I'm so very grateful for that. I could say so many things. So I'm just gonna say, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you. Gratitude to Drs. Miller and Dr. Good. Dr. Miller and Dr. Good. They're not here tonight, but I do feel like John said that they both deserve a shout out. They have given so much to the district. Dr. Fine, yay. I'm so glad to have you as part of the team, your energy and what you're gonna bring leading us forward. I'm so grateful for. So that's to the education community. And I almost like skipped because my notes are like really, everybody else is looking like it's nice to take notes. I have like handwritten scribble. I almost skipped the part where I wanted to say to Alicia and Victoria. Peace and blessings as you continue to move forward, wise decisions, but as you always do, with your heart and your conscience. And I know that we're in good hands. John, it's been such a pleasure. It's been such a pleasure. It's been such a pleasure. Oh, Mike and Melissa, yay, Melissa's not here tonight, but also to recognize the time that we spent together and the service that you guys have given. But I have to pause for just a minute and say to Marley, I don't think, maybe I won't say it to Marley, maybe I'll say it to the community at large. I don't think that our community can really ever appreciate what you have given to this district. I only feel like I even have like sometimes like I'm just like blown away, like I'm like, oh my gosh, like you did that too, like do you know what I mean? Like I think, and I'm so grateful for the leadership I think that you provided us during so many. Forget the COVID part of it, the transitions that we had and the stability that we needed as we changed leadership. I feel like you were one of the constants that kind of leveled the ship, and so I'm so grateful to you for that. And again, just to the community, I just really feel like they need to hear that I think you've done an amazing job. So what did John say? The super
Board Education
Hall of Fame. I could not agree with that sentiment anymore. Nothing. That's really true. Okay, so to like wrap it up, I want to say to the community and to the students again, thank you for challenging us, for asking us the hard questions, for making us consider and reconsider and turn problems, the situations over and look at them all from all angles. So I think that engagement is an important part of the process, and I thank you to the students, the parents, the community who have done that. I've grown in so many ways that I didn't even know I could grow. Okay, so to my family, they're gone, they went home, but I have to give a shout out to my sons who I feel like have given a lot to my husband, who has been super supportive during quite the experience. And I look forward very much to, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve and focus my attention on all the students in Bexley, but I'm really looking forward to taking that attention and turning it on my students, especially as they're getting ready to like leave the nest. I feel like they're gonna hone in on them for just a little bit before they're grown and gone. And then finally, I just want to circle it back to the students, because it starts with you, it ends with you. I hope that to all our students in Bexley schools, I hope that you felt supported and heard. I hope that you feel smarter, stronger, faster, more balanced, and happier than you did. Or I hope that those are all things that you have felt coming from us. Okay, so that's my words. I do have to say that I started with a quote, and I'm going to end with a quote. and I gotta bring it up on my phone. Like, when I think about my service, I hear like the theme song, like the musical Good, or like Wicked. I don't say Good, I should say Wicked. The Wicked, some of the songs from Wicked have like been running through my head. I've been changed for good, but I actually chose as my final message something I want to read. It's from Wicked. It says, "I have heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn. And we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I am today because I knew you." So that's to all of you. That's to all of you. That's to our students, to our community. I have grown and changed in so many ways. I hope that you feel like the amount of growth that I have had, I hope that that is felt in the community as well. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right. I know that's a lot of emotion for everybody listening, but I appreciate your patience because it's a lot for, I think, those of us in our last meeting to take in. So, that being said, I know that Mr. Hall could not join us tonight, so we can move on now to Superintendent's Committee, Chapter 9.
Thank you. Just before we get started, just another thank you. We've all had an opportunity to say our thanks and our praises, and it's never going to be enough, but it's been an absolute honor to serve with the three of you and the five of you collectively. I am so thankful for your grace, your patience, your understanding, and your trust. And I can't imagine having started this journey with anyone else. So I'm really thankful. I hope you understand the impact of this group, of the foundation and the legacy that you've left, and the exciting journey that's ahead is a reflection of the work that you've all done individually and collectively. Your love, passion, commitment, but probably most importantly, and a couple of you spoke to this, your trust and your respect. The way you carry business, the way you operate on a daily basis is something that I will take as I move through this journey, and it will put you all into the Board of Education Hall of Fame. But thank you. Words are not enough, but the impact of the people you have come across is evident. And I'm thankful to have walked alongside of you for the short time that I have, and I hope we all remain close as we move forward. So thank you. A couple of other things, just before I start some of the comments on the agenda. Winter sports is gearing up. We've got incredible action happening. I want to give a quick shout out to Eli Goldberger, our athletic director, our coaches, our student athletes, our families, our athletic department. It is quite a juggling act, and I'm so thankful for that group that gets our students to shine. And I've enjoyed watching them do so as we've started the early winter months. Also, congratulations to many of our student performances, not to mention, Diane Goodney is here, our 7th grade Bexley Bella Voce performed earlier for our Board of Education, which was awesome, unbelievable. That is why we do it. We get to watch our students do their thing, led by amazing magicians and staff members that are dedicated and give extra time. They hit a home run, and I love watching our students perform, so thank you. But also the other students that we've been able to watch over the past month on stage in clubs doing amazing work. So we're thankful for that. Also, big shout out to Dr. Williams, Harley, and our nurses for hosting a vaccination clinic for our 5 to 11-year-olds last month. Our second doses are this Thursday evening. That's a big deal. That's an important step to the work that we're doing. It was quite an experience to watch that process and to watch our students fight through the agony and the pain, the trauma, but the nurses and the adults that were there that evening was really impressive, and I'm thankful that we have folks like that can do that work. And then lastly, I think it's important that we take a moment to acknowledge the horrific tragedy that happened on November 30th at Oxford High School in Michigan. As a parent myself, I understand the heightened worry and stress that comes alongside the grief we feel for families experiencing an unimaginable loss. At Bexley City Schools, we continue to prioritize the safety and health of our students and our staff members. Our approach to safety is multi-pronged. All of our buildings have recently been outfitted with security upgrades, and we continue to do so. Students and staff engage in regular safety drills, and we are fortunate to have a close partnership with our local police department. Last but certainly not least, it is our ongoing commitment to social and emotional learning and providing professional counselors at each of our buildings. It is critically important we continue to ensure all of our students feel safe and supported and learn life skills to manage emotions such as stress, disappointment, and anger in healthy ways. So that'll take me to my first bit of business, the Superintendence Committee. Our legendary treasurer, Kyle Smith, and I have both established the committees for the year. We have shared our committees with our current board members, our newly elected board members, and our board members will serve on these committees, and those board members that will be assigned to those committees will be determined at the January organizational meeting. You see the committees that are listed on the screen. There's 2 pages of those. We greatly appreciate the work and effort that goes into these committees, as they're a vital part of who we are and what we do. So open to discussion if there's any questions. I'll move into our exciting athletic facilities update. This is really exciting work that, again, I want to thank Harley Williams, Eli Goldberger, John Eikenberry, Kyle Smith. This work has been really exciting to watch, to see it develop and grow. Since the last board meeting, we've met again with the Jewish Community Center about the expansion and improvement of athletic facilities on their property. We are now at the phase of beginning to put design and terms into print. We will also expand the working groups and involve more individuals from our Board of Education, our boosters, and our coaches. We have obtained legal counsel who specializes in this work to guide us. And to be clear, we would improve upon their property that they would continue to own and manage, but we would have the rights to usage and time. We understand and recognize that they would use these fields for their own programming, and that this is no different than the other public entities that use our facilities during off hours. We believe that details such as these are easy to come to terms with, and believe the JCC to be tremendous partners as we travel down this path. We are grateful for this opportunity and relationship, and we hope to share more details with the Board of Education very soon. And I'm happy to open it up for discussion.
Thank you. I would just say that I'm very appreciative of that work, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do. And I also want to acknowledge the members on the JCC board who are also Bexley parents, as I think they really helped the mission and vision of that plan, and I appreciate their efforts.
Yeah, I would agree. They've been fantastic, wonderful to work with. I think we both have a vision that benefits each group and a community as a whole. So I'm excited to see where it takes us.
Yeah.
I'll move to the final bit of information on my agenda, which is just a quick, brief COVID update. We've had a few questions from community members and folks within the district about when Bexley will look at eliminating masks during and after school hours. We want to remind everyone that the new mask to stay and test to play quarantine guidance that we discussed last month was about keeping kids in school and was never intended to eliminate masks. Franklin County Public Health advises that we need to lower our 7-day case rates to a sustained 4-week level below 50 per 100,000. Currently, the Franklin County 7-day case rate is 314 per 100,000, which is a 57% increase from last week. This keeps our community transmission at a high incidence level. In fact, our county case rates have been going up the last several weeks after a steady decline in October. Even more concerning, Dr. Hyder with the College of Public Health at The Ohio State University, who shares the CATS data with us each week, has observed a rapid doubling of COVID-19 positive cases across school districts in Franklin County after the recent holiday break as compared to before the break. This trend is not specific to any one district, as it is happening among all districts at the same time. Bexley is not immune to this data, as we have seen 20% of our total elementary cases for the year have occurred over the past 2 weeks. To combat these numbers, health officials continue to encourage eligible folks to get vaccinated in addition to universal masking. Additionally, we met with our medical advisory team. We had a great conversation, lots of great debate around a possible off-ramp for masks, and I greatly appreciate this group's insight and expertise. With the information I currently have, I am not recommending adjusting our current masking policy at this time. We do know that vaccination rates are an important piece in driving our case rates down, and it is critical that we continue to vaccinate eligible students to help us find this off-ramp sooner. I am proud of our district's ability to respond quickly and offer a vaccination clinic for our community, as I mentioned earlier. And as I said earlier, our second doses are scheduled for this Thursday evening. We will continue to observe vaccination and case rates, work with our local health officials and watch team as we discuss opportunities to update this recommendation, including masking requirements during extracurricular activities after school hours. I'm open to conversation at this time as well.
Sorry, go ahead.
One question, Dr. Fine. With those increased in the cases of our students, have we seen any transmission, or are we aware of transmission occurring in our buildings?
Yeah, Dr. Williams and I talked earlier this week. I'm not aware of much transmission that's occurring in the buildings. A lot of these cases are happening within the homes. And again, like I mentioned, this is happening around Franklin County in lots of school districts. But we're not seeing spread within the building that I'm aware of at this point.
Thank you.
Alicia?
Yes, I actually just wanted to compliment Dr. Williams and staff and the team on the vaccination clinic. So we participated in it because it's convenient. My anxiety was like 110 because there's kids everywhere. They're getting shots. They're screaming, and staff is like calm as could be. Like they're smiling. Kids are like, oh, it's not that big a deal after they get the shot. I just want to tell you, I don't know how you guys do that every day. I'm sure that's part of, being in education or whatever, but it was amazing to watch because as a parent, I'm like trying to keep it together too. And I just couldn't believe how calm you all were. Like, I mean, littles having meltdowns, and they just were like just moving the line through. It wasn't a long wait. And we're coming back Thursday before our concert. So, and she's like, no big deal now. So thank you. I just wanted to tell you it was a really good experience.
I hope the second one goes easier for everyone.
Yeah, well,
They
once you get
hopefully
past the
once
first
they've
one,
gotten- right.
yeah, we'll see.
So just a bit of data on that. We had 300 register for the first dose, and I think 275 showed up. So a great turnout. Yeah.
Yeah, I will just say, none of us like the masks. And I'm eager to have any discussion, or I would be eager if I were going to be here to have any discussion about how to get them off. And I am mindful of your statements about the vaccination, that my chief concern has been keeping, as I think it has been for this administration as well, and the board, to keep our students in our schools and healthy as can be. So one key answer to that is vaccination. As vaccination rates go up, I think we'll feel more and more able to release mass mandates, knowing that people are protected by having vaccination. So thank you for the work on that. Are there any other questions for Dr. Fine?
I do have a quick question about vaccination. So, typically as a parent, when you submit verification of vaccination, are we required to submit verification of the COVID vaccine?
So it is not. We are not collecting that data.
Because it's not a required. Gotcha.
Not required from the FDA.
Approved.
So
That's right.
it's not.
Gotcha.
But we will have information on vaccination rates in 43209. So.
Yeah, we're still working on that. What we do know that 58.3% of Franklin County is the vaccination rate. I've not been able to get it broken down to
Yeah.
43209.
I got good news on that. We're over 80-some%.
And
43209
43209. I think we're over 82%.
of eligible vaccination.
80% of our district.
Yeah.
The 43209,
And that's
of our district.
5 through
Beyond, yeah.
100.
Yeah, I think they said everyone was, every eligible person. So
Is there,
that jumps up quite a bit.
and speaking of that, is that vaccination rate, is that taken into consideration when we talk about?
Yeah,
policy?
so as Marley said, we are really interested in what we can do to offering up masks.
Yeah.
Right? So we have been talking with our local health officials. We've been talking about what does vaccination rate do in terms of your recommendations. That's still a conversation that's happening. I think it's a really important piece. When you look at 43209, when you look at what we're doing, there's a reason why we offered the vaccination clinic to our families. I think it's an important piece of the puzzle that we need to take into consideration as we have those conversations.
Yeah, because I know that was part of the discussion we've had for a long time is, that kids 5 through 11 couldn't get it. Now it's available, and at what point is that off-ramp to where you can have the vaccine if you choose not to do it? At a certain point, where does that come into the formula?
And I think as you start to look at some of these locations where we can start looking at possible off-ramps sooner than later, looking at extracurricular activities, following Ohio high school athletics, and putting into consideration the vaccination rate.
Thank you.
Dr. Williams, I'm sorry, would you just, so I can repeat it for the record, the vaccination rate of 43209? Go ahead.
I'm looking at it right now, it's 86% for the Bexley City School District.
86% for Bexley City School District.
Harley, is that 43209
That's
and beyond, or it is
our
Bexley schools?
43209,
Okay.
not the whole 43209.
Not the whole 43209, just Bexley City School District, 86%. That's a high number. Good going, Bexley.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for that conversation, and I wish you all best of luck going forward on that. Those are not easy answers.
Thank you.
So thank you to everybody in our community for your patience and graces. We go forward on that. All right, Dr. Fine, is that it for your?
That is it. Thank you.
Okay, so we are looking to, I'm going to break out our votes a little bit tonight, just so we have the ability to discuss a few of our, sorry, I'm checking one thing, make sure I have it in here correctly. Got it, okay. So can I have a motion to approve items 3B like boy through F like Frank?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Did we have, I think we were gonna, on E, is Ms. Lonnie here? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Are you talking about E?
E, yeah, the field trip thing, but I appreciate all of the detail in the request, and like the timeline and all the things that I know. This was scheduled for 2020? Okay,
Approved in 19.
okay. So this has been a long time coming.
Glad you'll be able to participate in that now.
Yeah.
It'll be a great trip.
Maybe that's what we should do for board retirement. I'll go with you.
I'll stuff myself into a suitcase.
Any questions for anybody on field trips or the rest of A, or sorry, B through F? All right, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, actually, with me, sorry, that needs a roll call vote. Thank you, sorry.
You missed me on that too. So roll call then. Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Minio,
Yes.
Mr. Barno,
Yes,
Ms. Powers,
Yes.
Ms. Snowden.
Yes, thank you.
and thank you for coming, Ms. Lonnie.
Yeah, thank you very much. And for your hard work, as Mr. Varna says, that's not easy, I'm sure, because trying to figure out field trips to.
And Diane, I think you're here for the other field trip
Yeah.
as representation because I think,
Band?
Representing the orchestra.
orchestra,
Is
Stephen,
that on there?
yep,
Yes.
Okay.
Stephen couldn't be here, so thank you for filling in case we had
Thank you
questions.
for that, I appreciate it.
It's wonderful that we can start approving these and reapproving them and having that patience, but it's wonderful that the students can get back to that. So I'm really glad that we can do that.
Yeah.
So thank you both. No, please, I know you probably are thrilled to stay, that you are.
I'd really like to.
We
yeah.
support all the work that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Have a good
Thank
night. All right, so moving on our board policies, I'd like to take a motion to approve items G and H, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I'll just comment that you'll note that under G, we're only having one reading of the regulations going forward, so that's what you'll see here. Most are, come from OSBA, are vetted by our attorneys and our board of administration, and then given to the policy committee to have looked through. As far as the first readings are concerned, those are just follow-ups from the larger group that we had that we needed to get more information on before we could bring first readings, so that's why you see this here tonight. Are there any questions or comments about 3G and H?
I just had a question, and this maybe goes back a little ways when we talked about policy, and this is when Dr. Miller started. Am I missing? Do we approve regulations?
No, so that's a change. Thank you for pointing that out. In previous administrations, we had included board approval of regulations, and discussing it with Dr. Vaughn with his leadership, he felt that, and the policy committee agreed that there are oftentimes things in regulations where that's more where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
And so we felt that it was appropriate to have board approval of some of those items.
Okay.
Or all of those items.
And I think what the discussion that we had probably 3, 4, or 5 years ago was some of the regulations are, we want to give our administrators discretion of how to implement our policy and not overreach as a board to get in
Yes.
and start saying, well, if this happens, you do this, if this happens, we don't want to get too much into that business, but there are certain regulations that you feel more comfortable in having approved because it kind of dovetails into the policy as opposed to like how it's implemented.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because when I read that, I thought that was.
Oh, wait a minute, I thought we weren't approving regulations.
But again, I think it's important and I think it's, with our administrators, we want to give them that discretion on a number of things so they have the ability to use their background and their knowledge and their insight into even specific situations of how to implement a policy correctly, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let
Thank
me
you.
just add to that, when the policy committee was reviewing these regulations, it was the administrators who were walking us through, and
Yeah.
we asked questions and they told us, and so it was a great process, the way you described it, John. And that's, I think, partly why we only have to do one reading, is that it's not really a board driven, but it's good for the board to relate it to the policy,
Yes.
that it informs.
I think they all look forward to not having two attorneys on the policy committee. A little bit too common. So, all right, we have a motion and a second to approve 3G and H. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you, that motion carries. All right, so I'd like to take a motion to approve item 3I, which is the bulk of our policies that we have all seen last week or last month. These are second readings, and includes our new board policy AEA, equity and education.
Sorry.
Thank you. Was that a so moved, Dr. Monlock, introduction?
Yes, so
Thank you.
And there's a second.
Thank you. Okay, any comments or questions around 3I?
Yes, Ms. Snowden, we wanted to take an opportunity to make a few remarks ahead of this vote. We know we're voting for several policies here, but one particular call out is our DEI policy, which we have aptly named Equity in Education. The Board of Education has been engaged in the work, I wrote this down too, so I wouldn't ramble, has been engaged in the work of creating an educational experience for our students and families for nearly 10 years. And that work, while at times slow, has been a true discovery of our limits, our beliefs, our core values and aspirations for our district. Marlee Snowden, John Barno, Mike Dennison, Melissa Lacroix, Michelle Mineo, Victoria Powers, and myself have all been engaged in many forums behind the scenes and sometimes very much on the front lines of asking our teachers, administration, and community members to consider a different lens. The job of a good Board of Education is to draft and adopt policy that is broad enough to encompass that which we have not thought of, is not so restrictive that it prevents the nimbleness that is required when dealing with human beings, their growth, and challenging deeply held norms. However, most importantly, drafting and adopting policy that is sound, sustainable, attainable, and yes, aspirational. This policy is not performative by any means, and that was intentional. The board holds the superintendent accountable to develop all plans related to student growth and success through the administrative and teaching communities. Through regular and timely reporting and benchmarking, the board reviews the success of the plan, makes recommendations, provides guidance while relaying our expectations of not only the 5 of us, but also the community when appropriate.
So I want to add that I'm grateful that our equity in education policy is up for second reading this evening. I want to thank Ms. Mitchell and Mr. Braxton for their help in preparing this draft. The draft was circulated to members of the Anti-Racism Task Force Policy Subcommittee, the Bexley Anti-Racism Project, led by Bexley students and graduates, the Bexley Minority Parent Alliance, Bexley Pride, Bexley DEI, and the Bexley Special Ed PTO, and also was circulated in a number of communications that went out from the school over the last month or so. I very much appreciate the input that we've received. I've shared all the input that came in with our board members, so everybody has seen that. There was some significant input that came in from Bexley Anti-Racism Project students as well as other people in the committee. And based on that input, we've made some revisions to the policy that Alicia and I talked through, and I want to walk through those very quickly. I had the privilege of visiting the students on the Bexley ARP group on Friday in their meeting and walk them through these changes so that they would understand the relationship of their comments to the changes that we ultimately made to the draft that is being considered tonight. Not all of these comments came from those students. These are the comments that came from these changes are informed by the comments that came from the entire community and all those groups. So students said that some of this is vague. And, I think Alicia's comments have sort of gone to that sometimes policy in its best form leaves room for flexible interpretation. And as John was pointing out, keeps the board out of the work that is not in our lane. It sets priorities, but it does not give all of the detail. That's the job of the superintendent and his team in preparing a plan, which is what this policy calls for. Ethnicity was a word that some of the students suggested that we add into the policy, and so that word has been added in the list of qualities that we want to support for each and every one of our students. The students had a comment about language that we included in the first draft. It seemed a little lofty. When Alicia and I read through it again, we thought that's as Alicia mentioned, we are not wanting to be performative in this language. And so it was really helpful to have that other lens and all the lens that came through all the comments to think back about why is each and every one of these words in here? What do the words do. And so we took out the words "and free" at the end, which was a sentence that had come from the board's statement back in June. So we changed that sentence. There were comments about our definitional sections. So what we did was we broke that section down a little bit, and we added a definition of resources. There were some comments about being very clear about resources, and we had a parenthetical in the first draft, so we beefed up the definitional section. In the bullet points where we talk about the commitments that the board is looking to make and the commitments that we want to be responded to in the plans that the superintendent will provide to us, not just this year, but going forward. We had started one of those bullet points with the thought that the board wants the district to support multiple learning pathways that would lead to lifelong success in order to meet the needs of each student. Two changes in that section. One was to add the word actively at the beginning to sort of focus that this is not just a passive support, but we need to actively support multiple learning pathways. And we changed the language a little bit to say that we want those pathways to widen access to educational opportunities and career success. We got rid of the word lifelong, and I think that was one of those lofty words that Alicia and I agreed. We don't really feel that was as meaningful. We worked with language where we had talked about culturally relevant curricula and programs, and this was one of the comments that came from the students, high quality and culturally relevant for each student. So their question was, who are you talking about? Whose relevance is this? And so we revised that section a little bit to make that more clear. And finally, we changed the language at the very end. The last paragraph of this policy is the paragraph that announces or requires that the superintendent will prepare an annual draft and get us a plan for us to look at, and that would need to be measurable and accountability. And there were comments and questions along the way about what is the board's obligation in this. So we added a little bit of language to make it clear that the board's obligation is to act on that, to consider it annually. So I really appreciated the opportunity to, and I've skipped a couple things, but the opportunity to meet with the students and get their feedback and meet with them about the process that we're going through. Really grateful for all of the comments that we got from our community, for people who are engaged in this work in other areas. Very, very helpful, and I'm really grateful for all the work that has gone into this, that we can be considering this policy tonight before this board. This board has worked so hard on this, so thank you.
And lastly, board and for our community, we want you all to understand that this policy reflects work that the district has been engaging in. It codifies that effort so that the education community can produce to those expectations. It's one thing to always put it as a goal. Equity in education in some form or other has been part of our superintendent's goals since Dr. Johnson's time here. It's been part of every superintendent search. It's been part of every effort that we have made from administrator on down. But this codifies that. And so, in clarification for our students, because I understand some folks don't understand how the Board of Education works. The policy is the board saying, hey, this is the expectation. So just some final comments. I believe our board expects this policy to reflect the expectations of our district always, not simply a moment of major social change in our world and communities. Again, that was the reason for the language choices that we selected to go into this policy. I believe the plans our administrative leaders engage in, adopt, and execute through this policy continue to shape part of who Bexley is, our hope for our cultural DNA and what it means to be engaged, equipped, empowered, and a champion. Our blueprint means that every child, every family matters, and to the best of our abilities, we will work to ensure when they graduate from our halls, they have experienced it. It is my hope that we adopt this policy tonight as a Board of Education. And again, thank you, deep thanks to all of our former board members and all of our community members have been part of getting us to this process and this journey. I'm very, very, very proud of all of you. I'm very proud to be part of this team.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments about item 3I?
I just had a couple of things I wanted to note that I really appreciate, and Victoria touched on it, is the definition section, because sometimes the Twitter sphere or wherever else out there you talk about definitions. I think defining what we mean is important, and not only in this policy but a lot of policies, but especially here we talk about what equity means, and where it says that through policy, programs, and practices that each student, which is a phrase that Dr. Miller used a lot and I really like, is provided for specifically targeted resources, attention, and support required to be differentiated social, emotional, and educational goals. And that's important when you talk about definition of equity. We're not talking about ultimate outcomes. We're talking about we're small enough and a very fortunate district to be able to target and say, we know that this is what is best for our students, and equity being defined in that sense really is helpful for I think everyone, and especially when we talk about equitable access to instruction, curriculum, and support, equitable opportunities, widen access to educational opportunities, ensure equitable opportunities for all students to co-curricular and extracurricular activities, which a lot of times, especially being on the athletic board, there are a number of students, and I was one of those students in high school. Is one of the things that really focuses you, if you're in athletics or in a co-curricular, you know that you have to perform in the class and that you have these opportunities, and as